Hey folks, welcome back to another review with yours truly, Sam Healey. Today we're taking a look at this little fella right here, InBetween. And I know there's no name on the box here, it's right there on the side, InBetween. So, if you like the TV show Stranger Things, this is down your alley. Now, while it is not exactly a Stranger Things theme with the IP and all of this other kind of stuff added onto it, this is the same thing as far as the idea of being pushed and pulled between two different dimensions. From one side, the bad guy creature is pulling you, and from the other side, the good forces of the spirit of the townsfolk, or whatever you might want to say, they're trying to keep you on this side, all of your friends and family and relatives and that kind of thing. So InBetween has that Stranger Things vibe going on with it, even though the IP is not there. So let's get down to the table. I'll show you how it works, and then we'll come back in a little bit with some final thoughts. So in a game of InBetween, each player is going to take on the role of either the creature, which is the bad guy, or the townsfolk, or the town, being the good people. It is basically a tug-of-war match where the creature is trying to pull the townsfolk underneath to his realm, and the townsfolk are trying to survive that and stay on the top side, so to speak, and become secure up there so that they don't have to worry about being pulled down to the underneath. Now, before we get to game structure, there are just a few basic ways, 4 to be exact, how the game can end. First of all, if there are 3 secured characters, then the town wins. Secured means that they're on the blue side. All of these character cards are double-sided. And secured means that it's on the blue side and it has a secure marker all the way down here at the bottom. So if 3 characters are secured, then the town wins. On the flip side of that, if 3 characters are devoured, which means that they are on the opposite side, the creature side, and they're all on the devoured, the lowest box on the card, then the creature wins. If one of the players happens to reach the 6th level of awareness, as you can see here, each character has an awareness card. This is the townfolk, this is the creature one over here. If we can move our marker all the way down to the 6th spot here, then, as the card says, you immediately win the game. And then finally, the last way that the game can end is if there are only 5 character cards left in the game, then the person who has the majority cards on their side, for example, the town would be the blue, creature would be the yellow, and whoever has the most on their side at that point is the winner of the game. So that's how the game can end. Let me show you how each turn plays out. Now, turn structure is pretty simple. As you can see, it's all laid out here on a card for you. There is an awareness phase, an action phase, an activity phase, and then a movement phase. So only 4 phases, but those can go by pretty quick. So I'm just gonna very easily and simply break them down for you right now. Then we'll show you some sample turns just so you can get a feel for the gameplay, and then we'll be done. Now, in the awareness phase, you can use one of your awareness abilities. Now, the thing with this, though, is that using an awareness ability is once and done. You can see that there's a token here, and if you flip it over, there is a little cross-out marker, which means that you have used your awareness ability, and you cannot use them anymore. When you use an awareness ability, you can use, for example, if I'm at the 3rd level here, and I want to use my awareness ability, I can use the 3rd one, or the 2nd, or the 1st. I can use any of them, but only one of them, and then once I've used it, it's turned over, and I won't be able to use any more awareness abilities for the game. So that is one thing to take into account is during the awareness phase, is that if you use it, it's done, and you won't be able to use any of them ever again. Next, after that, is the action phase. Now, the action phase is where you're going to be taking a card from your hand and playing it and then carrying out a certain number of things depending on what you decide to do. So, for example, if I play this card from my hand here, I can, first of all, affect one of the people that have that symbol on their card. So I look over here, I could do Richard, and actually right now he's the only one that has that level on the card. So I could affect him, which means that since I am the town player, I could put this over here so that I can start pulling him towards my side. Another thing that I could do is place a matching marker on somebody else that doesn't have that marker. So Richard is the only one that has the Interstate 69 symbol on his card. Maybe I want other people to have that one as well. So maybe I'll put it over here on Lance. And now on a future turn, if I play another Interstate 69 card, I will be able to influence either Lance or Richard, not just Richard. So if I play a card, that's what I'll do first. And then I have the opportunity to pay a number of energy that's listed in the bottom of the card. Let me lift it in so you can see it a little bit better. So for example, if I played this one, move quickly, I could pay 4 energy and then immediately perform an additional action. So I could do that, but I never have to do that. That's just an option that you can do if you play a card. Now, if you choose not to play a card, there are a couple other things that you can do on your action phase. You can prepare, which means that you can discard any number of cards from your hand and then draw up to 5, which is your normal hand limit. Or I could also rest, which means that I will look at the number of characters that are currently on my side and then gain a number of energy equal to that number. Then, during the activity phase, we check the character card where the activity marker currently rests. If the card is in between, which means that there are no security markers on it or anything like that, then nothing happens during the activity phase and we move on to the movement phase. But if there are markers on it, no matter where it might be, then something happens. If it is on the first marker only, then the person who owns this character, for example, in this case, the creature, can pay a number of energy to raise its awareness. So, for example, in this specific case, they could pay 1 energy and move their awareness marker up to the first level. And then we would move on to the movement phase. But if the security marker is either on the guarded, secured, or terrified. So this is guarded, and this is secure, terrified, and then devoured. You would be able to raise your awareness and do whatever the special ability of that character is. Once we have resolved the activity phase, we move on to the movement phase, which is where we simply move the activity marker and we flip it, showing that it is now the creature's turn after the town has taken their turn. All right, so for some sample turns here, the activity marker is on the blue side, which means that the town person will go first, and he's going to look at his cards here. Now, cards are, we've already showed you these kinds of cards that have the symbols on them, but there are also equipment cards, and I'll turn it around so you can see it a little bit better. Equipment cards basically look like the same thing. They still have the symbol here, and they still have an ability that you can trigger at the bottom, but equipment cards will stay in front of you instead of going to your discard pile, and you have to wait until they come back up again, and then you always have this ability available to you. Now, in order to put an equipment card into play, you have to have that available energy for you to do so. So we're going to go ahead and actually play this equipment card, and we'll play it in front of us, and that means we can activate or basically interact with one of the house folk that are out here. So I could do Sam over here, Scott, Earl, Maggie, any of these people here that we could do. So what I am going to do is I'm going to flip Sam over. He is currently in between, but we're going to flip him over to this side. Now, if he were already on my side, I could go ahead and put this up here, but since he isn't, we're just going to be able to flip him over, which lowers the number of people that are actually in the creature's dimension. And I'm also going to pay 2 energy to put this equipment card into effect, which basically says that whenever you play a house card, you may draw 1 card. So that's a pretty neat thing for to be able to do later on. So we're going to keep that out there. Now we move on to my activity phase, and this person that the activity marker is resting on is in between currently, so nothing happens. We go to the movement phase where this flips over, and it becomes the creature's turn. On the creature's turn, they're going to have these cards available to them. They actually have 2 rage cards and then 1 struggle card, so they only have 1 real choice to make here. So first of all, they have to determine, are they going to affect one of these 2 guys? And so right now we've got 1 guy here, and oh my goodness, wow. So there are only 2 people that he can affect with this card, and there aren't any of these guys out here, so he has a choice. He can either take this and play this on somebody so that these kinds of cards will be more useful to him, or he can just go ahead and flip over one of these 2 things here. Well, another thing to take into effect is the special ability. Here I have to pay 2 energy to do this, but this one is a free one. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to play this and flip Earl over to the creature side. And that is this effect here. And then for no energy, the town loses 1 energy if able to do so. I can, so I do. And if it did, you gain 1 energy. So we gain an energy like that. This goes into the discard pile. And now we look at the activity phase, and the character here is still in between, so nothing happens. We go on to the movement phase where this happens. And now it's the townsfolk turn again. So I look at my hand of cards, and let's see here. Okay, can't do any of those things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're going to simply rest and gain energy equal to the number of people that we have out there, which is 5. And then that's the end of my turn. Nothing happens on the activity phase because this person is still in between. And this flips over during the movement phase. And it is the creature's turn once again. During the creature's turn, the awareness phase is always first. It kind of gets a little struggly because you don't usually are going to do this. It's only at a specific moment in time, so you do have to remember that the awareness phase is actually first. During the activity phase, though, the creature has 2 cards, and they don't have any people out here that actually have that symbol on them. So he's going to try to remedy that right now and place this marker on, let's see here, we're going to say Rodney. And we're going to pay that. And then it says pay 2, which we will, and choose an equipment card that is in play and remove it from the game. So it's not placed in a discard pile, it's actually removed from the game. So that goes over here, and that is the end of that turn. We check our character card during the activity phase. It's still in between, so nothing happens. Movement phase, this switches over to that, and now it's the town person's phase again. And so we continue playing in that fashion until one of those game-ending conditions is done. And so now that you have kind of an idea of how the game plays out, I can show you some of these other special abilities that the cards have. Now, one of the cool things about the game is that you only ever use 10 of the character cards that are in the game, and then so there are 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So there's a whole lot of replayability in that respect because you're only using 10 out of the 18 characters every hand, or every game rather. So just wanted to show you some of these special abilities so you kind of get the idea of how these can kind of change the game here. For example, here it says the town may move the activity marker up to 2 character cards in the direction shown by the direction token. So instead of, the creature may be planning on using that next ability very well. So you can use this and move it 2 instead of just 1. But on the flip side here, it says the creature may shift the safety marker on a secured character by 2 spaces, which is really important because, for example, say if you're here, he could shift this down twice and then that person is now devoured. Could be a game-ending situation. Mina here says that the town may play 1 card but not activate its special ability. So they could play a card from their hand and use the symbol that's on it, but not the special activity that they have to pay energy for at the end. On the creature side, however, Mina says the creature may choose 1 card from its discard pile and put it in their hand. So that's a way for the creature to get cards back into their hand that they've already used. So again, pretty interesting. Here, Jeremy says the town may move the activity marker up to 2 character cards in the direction shown by the direction token. So again, there's that same usage ability, but on the other side, it says the creature may flip the direction token. So this usually, it starts the game going clockwise, but the creature can shift it and make it go counterclockwise during the course of the game. Here, Natalie says the town gains 2 energy and draws 1 card. So during the activity phase, if her safety marker is down into one of these 3 spaces here, that's a pretty good thing for the town to be able to do. On the creature dimension side of it, it says the creature may shift the safety marker on an adjacent character card by 1. So let's say that Natalie is right here and this person is over here. Of course, she would have to be in one of these situations like this, or possibly down here like that. And you could just simply do that because she's adjacent. So Natalie's pretty cool as well for both sides. Here, Max, on the town side, it says the town may play 1 card but cannot activate its ability. We've already done that. The fireman here, but on the other side, the creature may remove an adjacent character from the game. And so this is where that other game end factor happens, where you have only 5 characters left in the game. If Max is in the game, that's definite viability. So that's some of the different characters that are in the game, just to give you an idea on what kinds of things you'll be able to do. Other cards that might be in the game, for example, here, set up a barricade so you can affect a character card that has a sheriff symbol on it. Or it says here, each player with more than 4 energy must lose all their energy in excess of 4. So that's pretty nasty. If you see that the creature is accruing a lot of energy, setting up for something big, boom, play that. You use 2 of your energy to get it done, but then they have to discard down to 4 energy. So that's pretty good. Move quickly, immediately perform an additional action, although it is pretty expensive. And so now you have risky maneuver, where it says you have to use 3 energy to do this, and it says shift the safety marker on every guarded character card to the alert side and every terrified character to nervous. All right, so that's kind of a reset, because if you look here, guarded is here, terrified is here, so you'd be shifting them down, as a matter of fact. So let's say that they are the creature is beating the town pretty badly, and then this is a risky maneuver where you're basically kind of resetting everything, giving yourself some more time, so that's pretty interesting. This one's on the house. If the creature has more cards in hand than you gain 3 energy, and you only have to pay 1 energy to get that done. So again, it just gives you an idea. Other equipment cards that might be there is a driver's license, which says when you play a card with an Interstate 69 symbol, you may flip the direction token. So that's pretty cool. Other equipment cards here, sedative. The creature must use 1 additional energy to affect the abilities of his cards. Revolver. After the creature uses energy to activate a card's ability, you may remove Revolver from the game to cancel that effect. So that's interesting. So again, you can see that there's so many different things that's going on in this deck. Draw cards until you have as many as the town. That's a really neat thing, especially if they just prepared and they have a hand of 5 cards. You can play this, and maybe you only have 1 card, and now you have 5 again without having to take a turn to do it. That's a really cool thing. Hiding. Play this card on a character card, if the activity marker would be placed on this character, place it on the next character instead and discard this card. So again, that's a pretty cool thing. And one of the things that I like about this is the artwork. I just wanted to show this to you while we're doing this. Just a really neat, evocative type artwork on both the creature deck and the town deck. So a lot of cool things that are happening in this game. Let's get to my final thoughts. So that is InBetween, a really neat two-player game that has a pretty strong thematic element to it that I think anyone who is savvy on the Stranger Things Netflix series, if you like that, then you'll probably like the theme of this game. Whether you like the game or not, I don't know. You'll have to play it for yourself and find out. But having said all of that, I really enjoy this game, and I know that's a little bit of a spoilerific thing here because I haven't really got to that part of my final thoughts, but I just wanted to put that out there. A couple of things, pros and cons and so forth and so on. First of all, the con of the game, and one of the main ones for me at least, is the fact that the box is kind of nondescript. Now, having talked to the designer and the publisher of the game, they did that on purpose because they wanted to show the town on one side and the creature dimension on the other side, and they wanted to showcase the artwork of the game by doing so. The problem is that they kind of left their box in a very nondescript fashion with their name only being on the side and that pretty small on top of that. So, you know, maybe hopefully if they get a second printing or something like that, they'll do a slip case or something like that where they can put that over there and show components and artwork, game artwork and that type of thing on the backside. But that was kind of a con for me because I just wanted the name to be a little bit more prevalent. Now, that's quibbly. I understand that, but I did want to mention it, and I did also want to mention the fact that they're working on it for a second printing or something to that effect. Now, with all of that having been said, the actual gameplay is pretty cool. For the most part, the energy tokens are just wood tokens. Same thing with the safety markers. They're just wood tokens colored purple. But the component quality of the game, the cards, the artwork on the game is all pretty good, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the immersive quality of the artwork. I've been able to play this game a number of times on both sides, playing the creature and the town, and it seems to be incredibly balanced. I don't think that one side is more powerful than the other. However, they are also asymmetrical because the creature doesn't have any equipments or anything like that. They have ways to get rid of the equipment and those kinds of things, but there's a lot more, I guess you could say that the townsfolk have a lot more things that they can do, but the creature's answer to that is also equally devastating at sometimes. So I think that the balance of the game along with the asymmetry of both sides is a very cool thing. Now, I will say this might be a little bit of a con, although I think it's kind of quibbly in that, and it could be just the microcosmic experiences that I've had with the game, and other people could have other experiences with it on this aspect, but and that is how the game actually ends. I've not seen the game end in any other way except the person, whether it's the town or the creature, getting their token all the way down to number 6. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. So you really have to, and that seems strange because it doesn't seem very simple. Getting just 3 people devoured or secured, that seems like it would be easier, but it actually isn't. It's really hard. And as such, I haven't seen too many people trying to do that because it seems so daunting. I've tried to do it, and didn't get very far and switched my tactic in the middle of the game, went back to getting this down to 6, and turned out winning the game that way. So it wasn't easy, but I was able to switch it around. So that's another kind of positive thing about it. But don't know that all of those game-ending experiences, all 4 of them, are going to happen. There are only a few characters in the game that actually remove characters from the board. So having only 5 characters left is kind of really pointed, a really focused game end. You have to have a number of characters out there that will make that even a viable option. Getting 3 people into the devoured or the secured section, that's really difficult because of that tug of war, push and pull mechanism that's there. So I don't know how viable that is. I think more often than not, this is how the game's going to end in either one player or the other raising their awareness to level 6. So all in all, I think the pros and cons are pretty clear. The cons that I've mentioned have been very light, quibbly kind of cons where you can take it or leave it. The pros, however, are pretty strong pros, and they're ones that usually make for a good 2-player game. So all in all, I'm going to give this one 2 thumbs way up. A town thumb and a creature thumb. So basically, I'm going to give this probably an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this game a lot. Everybody that I've played it with has really had a good time playing it and have enjoyed themselves as well. So I think that this is one of those diamonds in the rough. It came out at Essen, and it's probably hard to get a hold of right now, but hopefully in the future that will change, because I think this is one that is going to be liked by a lot of people. So that's it from me for In Between. We'll see you guys on the flip side.